If you could get down there next to it, that would potentially work for none of this is set in stone or anything. This is the idea. And they want sometime pretty soon, because they want to start on this, they want some kind of direction from us whether or not we're interested in helping them along on this project.
Yeah, I think it's just there's a lot of interest and support for this project.
And Rusty, I'm generally aware that Mr. Lonsberry is interested in working something out there, but I think that there's a lot of steps that Mr. Lonsberry would need to go through to make sure, aside from even transferring rights of way and easements and whatever, is the state going to let him pull in and out of that particular access way, because it's an access onto a state road. And what's he looking to bring in and out of there, and he might potentially need site plan or revision from the village's planning board in order to also let him do that. So there's a few pieces. This is not going to be something that happens anytime soon, and if what the hose company is looking to do over there is contingent on Mr. Lounsbury getting that all sorted out, I think, Mayor, as you pointed out, maybe a generic indication of support, but there's a lot of legwork that needs to go into getting this thing really set up.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, it would make sense if he had access off of North Avenue into his property, but then back onto North Avenue, that'd be a totally different.
Right, yeah.
But
That's two different items there.
That's up to him and the DOT to figure out.
Right, both of those projects, the Bumper House and Lounsbury's, will both have to go to DOT site plan review.
Yeah, because they're on a state road.
Correct.
Okay, so I mean, can we just, say that we support the
They're not looking
the
for
fire
any
department as
specific
far as starting to plan for the project?
Yeah,
Well, we can't say
there's no particular
when.
action that they want. They want to know if that's something that we are supportive of them. Well, I mean, of course, obviously, all the details and all the stuff, everything has to fit. Are we supportive of them doing this project and trying to put it there in that general area? That's their start. They don't want to get started on that if we don't want to do it.
What's that? This would free up a good chunk of real estate in the firehouse.
Yeah. It would also, make it visible for everybody, you know what I mean, in the village to the museum.
Room for another one of our small vehicles in the back of our station.
And it's a lot less likely for it to get damaged if it were in a protected environment.
So is that the general sense? Is that the general sense of the board that we're mostly interested in helping them along with this project?
I think it's a good idea.
Awesome.
Especially, they love fundraising, so.
Yeah, especially if they can use that bell and that.
It's another thing the council will be able to see. Fireman statute, the bell, the hose, east side.
Art park? Art and steam park.
She's basically saying she made a resolution saying that, I don't know if we did. Okay, so what do you want? There's a resolution saying that we authorize the mayor to sign a letter to give back this grant.
No, basically she's saying we can do a resolution if we want to. All they want is a letter on letterhead saying that
So you can do a resolution if you like, we just need a letterhead requesting the return of grant without prejudice and a short explanation, such as Jeff didn't want to do that.
Well, since we approved the grant by resolution, et cetera, et cetera, if we're going to give up the grant, we probably should do that by resolution. So that's the motion, that we return the grant and you do the proper paperwork.
Sign the letter.
Make it and sign it.
Who seconded the question you made that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion about that? Just before all of our time.
I'm going to abstain.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, one comment on that. That is a terrible shame, because
Yes.
we've been here for 15 years, what, almost that many years, watching us get that grant and not take advantage of it. And I was really ashamed that we, the village, and all of our people and all of our boards did not do that. I agree, let that go away.
I agree. Anyone else have any other communications to do with this? Next item is trustee reports. Fran?
Okay, well, right now, the cemetery committee is Peter Gordon and John Ritliff. They're working with a Eagle Scout to make plans for a project this summer. They're looking at different sites and so.
I saw some of those emails, that's good.
Yeah, so I'm sure after the next meeting in February, they'll have
I heard,
something firm.
so I know the Boy Scout people, and I heard that there's quite a bit more scouts coming that they're looking for projects too.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. One thing I'd like to comment on with the EMS is somehow or other we need to move along with this certificate or whatever that Don Warner needs to sign as far as the territory. That and we got people that are interested in going to talk to him, but we gotta get something
We got a couple emails. this
firm
week.
on that. I mean, at this point with things that were lost in the flood, I mean, you can't ever hope to replace that, but we can work with what we have.
Yeah, we had a couple emails this week on that, so I think we're.
Frank, can I say something?
Yeah.
Have you spoken to Mr. King about this recently? I don't know that you...
I haven't spoken with him. I know Jim had put together like a draft statement for Mr. Warner to sign, and I've added some things to it to make it a little more formal. And then I've already talked with Rod's folks about what records we might have. I just signed up for one in my last email with the draft. I said, hey, let's just really one last time make sure if we don't have them, that's okay. If somebody made a good faith look, and that way we can say it with certainty or not. And then I just need a little more information on what Mr. Warner was back in 1976, and then if we have a copy of like that original application for the certificate of need, and or whatever, any documentation that we have about it, and then any minutes from 1970, whatever we were, to show that we were actually providing, newspaper articles are fine, but I'd rather have minutes of meetings showing that the board, entered into a contract or that we received payments for those things. And those are historical things, and I know Rod has kind of already indicated that we might not have some of that stuff, but again, when we go to
Fire
the...
department have some records?
Good question.
Possibly, yeah, I mean, and that's where we need people to look for that stuff, so when we go to the state to say, hey, we'd like to clarify our certificate of need for our territory, we can say with a very straight face, we looked at our records, and this is all that we have, and please, approve us.
They have a lot of their records in the basement of our office, and they all got flooded out. The fire station have their own back records, a lot, anything that we have.
I bring up Mr. King only in that he's been involved in this for quite some time and has a generally pretty good feel about what they want from us, and we need to give them what they want from us. I mean,
As far as
the detail and stuff. And I bring this up all the time. We need to do this and quit.
Yes,
I know that we're not, but we need to do this
get it done.
because
Yeah.
Don's not doing well, and we need to do it.
Yeah, and that's where I think getting Mr. Warner's affidavit, in finalized form, which we're nearly there, if we just get a little last confirmation that, because what I'd like Mr. Warner to do is basically certify, if we have any particular records from back then, have him in writing certify that these are the documents that he signed and submitted back in 1976. 'Cause he's the person who did it. That's how you really show that document is a good exhibit, is truthful and accurate. Mr. Warner certifies that that's the case. And so if we've got documents with Mr. Warner's signature on it, I want Mr. Warner signing that those are correct.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No. Order. in agreement, you know,
Yeah,
But Brian,
time is pressing.
I hear you on that.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm all done.
Okay. Charles?
Just, I think it's a question for Jeff.
No.
Talking about Bradley Cruz, he was the president of HOM, I don't know if he is, they had elections
They're having a
tonight.
meeting tonight, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he was wondering about the outlets in the downtown area. You think they would be ready for use maybe by Strawberry Fest? I told him I didn't know if that fell under the DRI or what the...
They probably would, but we don't supply power for the Strawberry Fest.
There you go.
Unless they want to pay us for it.
However,
And then you'd have to work that out. We tried working that out one year and ended up not doing it.
So how do they get power?
Generators, stores.
Use the force.
solar.
I mean, it's totally up to the board, but I mean, I'm just saying, we don't, as of right now, we don't supply them power.
I just told him that I would ask officially.
Right.
If I asked, thank you for the answer.
I don't go down to the police whether they're plugged into something of ours or not, but.
Right.
Is it not working?
That's all I've
It
got.
don't work.
Most
Most of them do.
of them don't.
In Brooklyn, you just,
Plug in, right? Now, that is something, I mean, got an hour at Strawberry Fest, because we want more, I want to be involved in that from the beginning.
I brought that up
Is
as well.
that done for now? No, you said you were, no, because I'm going to say something about that when it's my turn.
In that case, you're gonna filibuster. No, I'm not rushing.
It's your turn now.
Last year, I certainly said something about it, others of us said something about it. Don't come to us at April Strawberry Festival and tell us what you spent 6 months setting up and before you talk to us about what we were willing to do, blah, blah, blah. And now it's almost the 1st of February and the Strawberry Festival haven't come to us since the day after the festival last year with anything. So the Strawberry Festival people need to come to us and talk to us.
If I can.
Yes.
I've talked to a couple of people about that, and obviously they have to show up. That's just where it is.
Okay.
They're
That's,
having a meeting tonight to elect their officers for this year.
Okay.
So after this, we probably will start doing stuff.
No one to talk to.
Yeah.
so I have a couple other things. Quick last word on the fire department, as we're didn't take some action tonight about doing something, but as our little deadline-y things show up, we have another little deadline-y thing coming up at the end of February when 39 bottles go out of stuff. So it's not like, well, we're gonna be looking at this again here in the next 3 or 4 weeks or whatever as that's coming to pass. Last thing is, this is an important thing. The police chief has gotten paperwork and information about the COPS grant. I don't remember if we talked about this last week or last time, or if we didn't talk about it much. The COPS grant is up, I'm making the numbers up for effect, they're not going to be accurate, $500 million of grant money for various departments around this country to hire officers at a short time for with a bunch of grant money. The general rules about how it works are, I don't know how many officers or how much money you can apply for, and they will pay 75% of the officer's salary and benefits for 3 years, and then generally the way that works is the entity has to pay the full shot for the 4th year, and then you can do whatever you want about it. That's your obligation. This is something we've gotten in the past. Bob Williams is real good at getting these. We've had them. This is a wonderful thing for us to try and have police officers that we can't afford to have. Whether or not, if we just have them for 4 years and then we can't have them anymore, we've had 4 years of a number of full-time officers. And this is coming right up, and the chief is working on this, and Bob Williams is helping him. And we're going to need to approve it when he's ready to do it. He's not ready right now, but he will be pretty quick. but we have to understand how much money we're gonna be obligating when we do this.
Right.
So if it's 60 grand for a single rookie officer with salary and benefits, they'll pay 45, we'll owe 15. If we get 3 of them, we'll owe 45 that year, but we'll have 3 full-time officers. Also, if we do that, that's the equivalent of 6 part-timers that we don't pay for. So it's not, we're just gotta come up with 45 grand. That if we didn't have 6 part-timers, we might be saving the 150 grand. And then, of course, you gotta come up with that last year's money. So we do need to understand the monetary implications, but when the chief comes to us with this, well, we really need to do this. And Bob got these grants before, and Bob's real good at this, so this is another one where, just as in the fire department has professional help with this grant this year, and we're really hopeful for it. We're gonna get some good help on this grant, and how to do it, how it works, people have done it, so.
So it was used in the past and successful?
That's right.
It was used in the past and successful?
Yeah, so, I'm just telling you that that's all coming pretty quick.
Yeah, he told me it's up to 3 officers, 75%.
Okay, was it up to 3? I couldn't remember the number, okay.
So that 4th year will be obligated for...
We would, if say it was 60 grand or whatever, it might be more, we'd be obligated for the 3 officers, we'd be obligated for 180 grand of our money, but once again, with this...
If they stay with us for 3 years.
Well, certainly, yeah, that's just the idea that... That's, yeah, I just want you to start thinking about that and the money implications, and we'll probably put together some kind of a thing where, yeah, this is how much it's gonna cost us, but here's how much we're gonna save for...
Because we're gonna save the next 3 years, and we'll have to pay the 4th year, but you'll save 3 years prior to that, so.
Yeah.
So as long as we can
So it's coming.
budget correctly, it should be fine.
Just coming, Johnny, getting you ready.
Oh, I do have one question. 4th year, I'm assuming they'd be unionized. Would we be able to, if we couldn't afford it, remove them after the 4th year?
What happens generally on that, and I don't have this chapter and verse, if you don't have the money for them anymore, what you would have to do then after the 4th year is you would have to lay them off and not have those positions filled. You can't
Just go high.
you can't lay them off and hire back a bunch of part-timers to take up all that time. That would be a civil service union problem. But you can lay them off. But there's complications there.
I was just curious about that anyway.
Yeah.
Money is a justifiable commodity,
Yeah.
but you can't do stuff to get a cheaper person.
You also can't like manufacture the problem.
Right. You have to really have a problem.
But don't worry. After 4 years, we'll have a money problem.
That'd be somebody else's problem, not mine.
Okay.
I mean, if we were to do that, we would need to plan annually to set aside some to
Correct, yeah.
cover that 4th year.
Yes.
But that's all I have.
Well, that sounds good.
I don't have any other report other than watching the Harlem Wizards and the Mayor play in the basketball game. That's hilarious.
Mike Jordan Beretta, right.
Seeing you dance on the floor.
That was fun, right?
All over Facebook.
Thanks. I'm sure plenty of people got a video of that too. Election time's coming, so somebody will use it, you know?
It's a
Is
music.
that a winner or a loser?
No such thing as bad publicity.
So I don't know about that. You gotta see the dance. Oh, that was fun, honestly. And I got out of it I'm glad I didn't have to hold that guy up. Or get tackled or what else happened there. I got out of it pretty easy, I think. So. Anything else?
No.
Can I make another comment? We're talking about all these grants. That Team Tioga is very helpful
Yes.
too. I mean, their grant writing people are forever. I mean, the grant we got for the lady that's doing the agricultural survey, that came from them, and they're working on other grants, so they're a great resource for grants.
Yeah, they help us a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're in, and I want to say her name every time that we talk about this. 2 weeks before the DRI stuff, and it shows up, and Leanne Titty puts it together, Leanne Titty puts this, and her staff puts this together for the
Yeah.
village of Owego.
Yeah,
Unbelievable, fabulous,
They got a heck of a team over there.
and did it in that much time.
yeah.
They do pretty fast. Actually, I need to contact them because everybody's been contacting me about, there's a TV show thing. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's out on Facebook. But there's a TV show that's looking for a town to come to or redo a bunch of stuff in the town. Whenever you have to apply, it's like a similar to like a DRI.
Can I get that?
Video.
Can I get that for us?
I don't know, maybe.
Sure.
I'm gonna go over there and
It's gonna make it.
get a second. Yeah, it's Mako, some town Mako. They come and like do
Over television.
projects.
You wouldn't want to actually try and put a computer in your shop.
He was really funny though.
Yeah, we'll get Rusty a computer.
No.
Take the jersey.
Like, can you write that to me?
All right,
I know it was no.
mayor's report, pretty standard stuff. Posted a video, we got a Julie, the budget analysis. Another thing we did, we met with Steve Donnelly and then Becca from tourism about the community branding project for the DRI. We had a work session, and a lot of village employees, department heads, lots of residents because we're out getting signatures. And scored a basket in the Wizards game.
Did they let you show that?
They did, yeah. It was very,
Nobody, like,
no, nobody was blocking. It was very, you will go here and do this, and over anything we don't tell you.
How many shots did it take you?
And not only I participated, but our nice police officer, Mr. Woodburn, Officer Woodburn, he played as well.
For the tip off.
He played more of like the game area, and because he obviously can run a lot better. And he did not score a basket, just saying.
we got game. Do we get them every year? Can we get them?
They're talking about bringing it back next year, yeah.
Because they're in shape next year.
The place was sold out, so
I see.
there was a lot of people there.
I see knows a lot.
A lot of people saw me do a little dance. I don't dance.
I was just gonna say,
Anybody want it? Last item was public comment.
Move to adjourn?
A second.
Yes.
So yes,
Yes, say yes.
He must have